Everybody, it's me again. Before we get to another great interview, please do me a favor and subscribe. That would really help us out. Now let's get to that interview. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated. I'm so excited today. You know I'm a comic book guy, so I've got actress Mary Charles Jones with me. So welcome.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you. So I spent my college days, I was a comic book store owner. So the 90s, I was just living the life, just selling comics, going to school. It's pretty great. It's pretty great. So I'm pretty excited when a new superhero show comes out because we didn't have any of that back in the 90s.
Just had the physical comic book.
We just had the comic book, but now, thanks to a large part to the CW, there's like a zillion superhero shows out.
So many.
And you get to be a part of one, which is amazing.
I know. There's a new version of the comic book, like the second series of ours coming out, and my character Annabelle's like on the front of it. And I was like, this is so crazy. Like a person that I'm portraying is like on the front of this comic book, and like I'm her, and we have the same parts, and it's just so cool.
No, I'm so excited to kind of see where the story goes.
Yeah,
because I'm assuming that's your story is going to be going there too at some point.
I would say we take a lot of liberty with the creators. They kind of just said like, this is our comic book that we're giving to you, but we want to see kind of what you're going to do with it, which is very like generous of them. But I think we've done a pretty good job. I think it was the second episode. One of the writers of the Naomi comic books like messaged me on Instagram and was like, I just wanted to say, like, that was the first I'd heard of them. So that kind of shows like how much they just gave it to us, which was and so kind of them. And he just kind of messaged me and was like, I love how you're playing Annabelle. It's exactly how I thought she would be from the comic book to real life. So that was just like so
that's
cool.
Amazing. What was it? Michael Bendis?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, he's such a talented writer too.
Yeah.
Like if he wanted to give you notes, I'm sure he could give you notes. So that says a lot.
I'm sure.
I'm sure. If he's not doing it.
Not what I was thinking, but you're doing okay. But no, he was super, super kind, and just even to just like, it was very out of the blue as well. I think I don't even think it was the first episode. It might've been the second. It was just like, hey, you're exactly what I thought it was going to be like. And I was like, that's amazing. All I needed to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, that is amazing. I mean, have you read that first season comic book?
All of us have like multiple copies of the first season of comic book now at this point. I have probably the least amount because I have the cover that has Casey's face on it that they did a reprint. And then I have the original cover that like everyone signed of like the actual book that has all the like series, the originals in them.
Right.
Because I can't find like the ones, they're gone. And you go and ask an owner and they're like, oh, we don't get any new of that. I'm like, we need to reprint some more. I don't know who I need to talk to, but we need to reprint some more. But I'm going to get my hands on the new ones. So
yeah, yes, get those early so you're set up. But I think it's because it's rare when we get a new superhero. Most of the comic book heroes have been around for decades, and Naomi, it's like 3 years.
She's so young. She's 2019, I think. Yeah.
I love that too, though, because it gives you so much license on what you want to do with her, because there's not that much source material out there.
Yeah, I think it was such a good thing too that there wasn't a lot of source material, in a sense of we had enough that we knew what it needed to be, but we also had not enough that we could be like, oh, like I wonder what's more of this person's backstory, or like we don't have to specifically follow these laws because in this random issue from this collaboration with this hero, Naomi says this, and we don't want to mess that up. And we have just so much space to kind of see what her character grows into and what the actors kind of feel like their characters are. It's a very, very cool thing.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So your character Annabelle, who plays Naomi's best friend. So I want to see her get some powers.
That would be sick. I mean, we talk about all the time now on the CW. I'm like, which one of you guys is going to be a superhero? At some point, one of you needs to get powers, okay? Looking around, seeing. I
think it needs to be you.
Little Batman and Robin type action.
Yes, why not? Every superhero needs either a partner or a sidekick.
Yeah. We like to talk about with Naomi and Annabelle. We actually, this week's episode is a lot into that. And a thing that I've talked about before with Annabelle is kind of because we get the room to talk about, yes, the superhero and how does this affect, Naomi getting powers? That's insane. But also, like, how does this affect someone like her best friend who's super supportive, but is also like, this is happening to you. I have no experience that I can be like, oh, this happened to me too. Don't worry about it. And it's cool to kind of see those emotions of human emotions of just natural, like what would you do if someone that you cared about so deeply had this life-altering event happen to them?
Don't you think that's a neat part of this show and the writing, in that it allows you to do some of that, because it's like if we had superpowered people, it gives you a little glimpse on how the people around them would interact or react.
And I think we even talked about that a little bit with like Naomi's character in the show is popular. She's kind of liked by everyone in the entire school, which is very different from most superheroes where they're kind of like the outcast and their powers give them confidence to be more of who they are. Versus Naomi, like, was already top of her game, confident. And so now that she has these powers, it's almost like I didn't need these, but now I have them, but now I feel responsible for them. So she has more of the dilemma that we don't see as much of somebody who kind of had it all. And now we realize maybe they didn't have it all.
That's right. Don't you think there'd be some jealousy, though? Somebody's got to be getting upset. It's like she's popular and now she's got superpowers. I mean, come on.
I mean, I think the only person that didn't like Naomi that we have which is funny because Naomi has nothing against her, is there's Esme, who's played by Allie on our show, who's kind of this blonde popular girl at the school, but they're not popular in the sense of like the cheerleaders. They're popular in the sense of like they both want to be student body president and they're both going to be valedictorian, which I think is so funny because at my high school that was kind of more of the thing. Like the cool kids were the really, really, really smart kids, and you were like, I need to hang out with them because maybe I'll get smarter by hanging out with them. But I feel like that's the only person that would have anything against Naomi. And truly, when she finds out she'd have powers, it would probably be like, oh, well, maybe I can hang out with her. So, and we're slowly seeing who Naomi wants to tell with that, which I think is interesting in the way that the writers wrote that, because it's a big thing in superhero shows and in comics when the superhero or someone with powers like tells other people.
Right.
Yeah, because there's so many different ways that people react to that. And that's why I loved the fact that like one of the first people was that she told Annabelle, and then Annabelle was like, okay, cool. Like, all right, we'll figure this out. Then there was nothing else said.
If it follows normal comic book tropes, your character needs to be careful because she's probably going to get stuck in a lightning storm or some weird mad scientist experiment. Something's going to happen. And
I say all the time, I'm like, don't let me get kidnapped or something, please.
It's going to happen. It always happens.
Hopefully we'll have to see.
If you could choose a power, what would you choose?
See, I have a favorite DC character, so I'm just going to say something along the lines of her, because while I was like diving into the DC world a little bit, I found there's Princess Amethyst, and she rides like a Pegasus, and she's from Gem World. And
my gosh, I can't believe like you know her.
Coolest thing ever. Well, as soon as I went on Naomi, I was like, I want to look up, a few of the sort of lore things that Naomi talks about in her comic book.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's mentioned in terms of like Earth 29 is mentioned and her Earth is mentioned. And then there's a small part where they say Gem World, and it's Dee's character. And I was like, Gem World, like that sounds fun. Hold on, let's take a look, shall we? I'm like, this girl rides a Pegasus. She has pink hair. she's basically like wielding this gem sword. I love it.
I'm so like you just went up a notch with me.
Yes.
When that comic first came out, it came out as a limited series in the 90s. And it as a comic book store owner, I was like, well, I'm not sure how it's going to do. So I ordered, a decent amount of them, and we couldn't sell them. They would not sell. And I read it. Yeah, I know. I read it and I was like, this is good. I can't figure. But then like a few years later, maybe a decade later, all of a sudden, then she was popular and she started selling.
It took a little bit.
Took a little bit of time, but I'm so impressed that that's a good answer. Like that's not an answer I was expecting.
I think it was also, Naomi's in a few of the others. She's obviously in the Justice League, and she was in a few of the Young Justice ones.
Yep.
And there was some issue, and I sent it to our writer, and I was like, I think this Amethyst girl is basically an underlying word for Annabelle, because she said something. They all have these evil versions of themselves, kind of, they meet, but there's not one of her. And she's like, why isn't there an evil version of me? Should we be worried about that? Like, why did they make one of me? And I think that's so funny that she was not like concerned about anything else other than like, why didn't I get an evil twin?
Why didn't I get one? What would you name your Pegasus?
I feel like I would name it like Hercules, because I love the movie Hercules, and Hercules had a Pegasus. But
are you talking about like Meg and Hercules?
Yeah, I'm talking about Disney's.
Yeah, that was my oldest daughter. That was one of her favorites growing up. And we still got the plates. You had the little.
Oh, yep.
We got the whole set. Still eating off of those things. But yeah, she loved Meg. So yeah.
Listen, if they're doing a live action, I'm ready. I can be your Meg anytime. I'll be the Pegasus.
You would be a great Meg. No, I'm ready. Be a great Meg. We need to make that happen.
We'll make some calls.
I'm going to get on the phone as soon as we're done. I'm picking up the phone.
Perfect.
I'm like, we either need to, because there was also Pegasus in that.
Maybe I just am a big lover of unicorns.
Yeah. I think we're getting to the bottom of it.
I think we are.
All right. So this is my last useless question, which is a lie. I've got more. But so if Annabelle, if she gets a power and it turns her evil, then what power do you have? If you have to fight Naomi, what power would you have?
It's hard because Naomi's like the best.
And
so
she keeps coming up with new powers.
Stop her? Exactly. Oh, I don't know. I feel like something to do within the mind, because we talk about like Naomi's a teenager, and that's kind of like her only weakness really is it's like she has a lot going on, so she's more emotional than per se, a 40-year-old man like Superman, who doesn't quite, Superman goes through a lot. I've seen some of the episodes of Superman and Lois. He's going through it. But I feel like something with the mind, maybe. We've talked about that.
What if you were just like really good at inflicting emotional damage?
Yeah.
And
I feel like some WandaVision type stuff where she's like conducting new worlds. That's too much. Probably a lot of strain, but
I think we're giving the writers some stuff to think about.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll be sending them my notes after this. Listen, I have some ideas.
Yeah. We got to make some changes. The show's doing fine, but it could be better. So here's my list. I'm sure they would appreciate that.
I will say that our writers are really good about, at least for my character, with all of my improv and stuff. I can kind of just look at our producing director Domain and just say like, hey, can I do like 2 takes of improv? And sometimes I'll tell them like, look, this is the joke. Last week I had a joke about Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg, and I was told our director Lisa, I was like, I need one more. Can I just do an improv? And she was like, okay, yeah, tell me what it is. And I said, no, you're not going to get to hear. You're just going to have to hear it when I do it. And I was really worried no one was going to laugh, because then it would have really been embarrassing, but it ended up going great. They put that take in the episode.
Yeah, I love that, because a lot of writers, they don't want you to improv.
I feel like with certain parts of like the nitty gritty or like dialogue that is written further along the plot that we might not know, because there's a lot of things that we say that we find out 5 episodes later, like, oh, that's why I said that. But with just like my jokes and stuff, I'm like, let me try this.
Throw it in there. See, that would, if not that I could act, but that would terrify me. Because I would want everything, like I would have to memorize everything and like really have it down. So if they asked me to come up with something on my own, I would have nothing. So
I
I'm
would
impressed.
say my goal every time is to try and make Casey break, because she's such a fantastic actress that I could say a joke and she still won't crack. She still won't, there may have been one time, and I think it was actually this episode that's airing tonight, that she like sort of broke, but not really. Like she's on top of it.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
I don't know how.
do you ever crack yourself up? So like you're laughing and everybody's just kind of looking at you like, what's the matter with you?
If I've thought of something, like when I do the scene, no. But sometimes I'll think of a joke before and I'll be like, oh, I need to say this. This is really funny. And they'll be like, why are you laughing? I'm like, just wait. It's going to be good.
Wait, you're going to love it. All right. So I jumped way out of sequence. So I normally would start by asking you how you got into acting. Why'd you want to become an actress? So let me back up to that.
I started acting when I was really, really young. I did my first show when I was 6, and it was a show on ABC. It was called October Road.
Yeah, I think that's the first thing I saw you in, which was an underrated show. I thought October Road was a really good show.
Yeah, it was pretty good. And I just played one of the lead actors' kids on the show, and that was kind of the first taste. And I was like, this is fun. And I think around like 14 and 15 is when I decided like, this is something that I want to do. And I realized like, this is something that I want to do long term, not just like, this is a fun thing that I get to do. And I get to do school on set, and my teachers send me my work, and I get to hang out with people. And as I got older, I was like, this is something I want to do professionally for a long time. And I love it. Been doing it for 16 years now, which sounds crazy. And
that's amazing.
I say that to people and they're like, what are you talking about? And I love working in Atlanta. I got to work in Atlanta when I was younger on the remake of Footloose and on Identity Thief, and then kind of took a break in terms of working in Atlanta and worked everywhere else. Worked in Utah and LA and New York, and then now with Naomi back in Atlanta.
Yeah, it's amazing that you figured out so young what you wanted to do. It doesn't usually happen that way.
No, I think it was just one of those things where I talk about like, I have this like love of entertaining, and there's a sports quote that I talk about, and people are like, you are not about to do a sports quote right now. I'm like, it's like not a sports quote really, but there's this quote, and it's Jimmy Valvano, and he's talking about like, every day you should laugh and you should cry and you should just be moved to emotions. And I found that through acting and through getting to do these roles, that's like such a beautiful way to get to do it. And I just can't see myself doing anything else.
That's pretty great. You keep impressing me. Now you're throwing out sports quotes.
I threw it out somewhere else, and the whole cast was there, and they were like, what are you about to say right now? You are not. We're a little confused.
Yeah. You started acting so young. I mean, did that keep, because I'm assuming most of your school has come while you're working, were you able to do, theater or anything like that in a school?
So with my school, and like, which is really cool considering that Casey, this season she's doing school with us, but if we get a second season, which hopefully we do, she'll be 18 and she won't be doing school on the set with us. But that was such a cool thing that I had done that for so long, and some of our other cast members had, that we could be like, we get it. It sucks to not get to hang out and have to go do school, but thankfully growing up, the school that I was at would send my work with me, so I wasn't out of the school and I wasn't online schooled. I did online for a little bit of high school, but that was just because high school is really difficult to just send a worksheet with you. But then as terms of theater, my senior year of high school, I actually got to do the musical at our high school because I wasn't working on any projects, and it was kind of like right before the pandemic started. So I wasn't really looking at a lot of projects because the overseas ones were already like, we think we may be stopping for a minute. We're not sure. So I got to do my senior year musical, and that was a lot of fun.
That is pretty cool. What was the musical?
We did Big Fish.
Oh, very nice.
Big Fish, yes. And I was Miss Sandra Bloom.
Yeah, that's nice. That's pretty good. That's a good experience to have. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That's pretty good.
We do have Broadway actors on our show, and Casey and Aiden, who plays Jacob on the show, both have been on Broadway and are the theater children. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. Can you sing?
I think so, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're not out of place, if they put you in a musical, you can hold your own.
Oh, I could. I don't know about next to the pros, but I think I could hold my own. Okay. Daniel would definitely be our dancer, though. Plays Nathan. He can dance. Sir can dance.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Now, your younger sister acts as well?
Both. So I have two younger sisters.
Oh, okay.
Both of them act. I've done projects with my middle sister, and then my middle sister has done projects with my youngest sister, but I've never done projects with my younger sister. So we're like, we need one with all three of us. We just need everyone to find something, and that they need three girls to play sisters that we can all be on. But yeah, they both started acting pretty recently after I had started acting, and was like, is this something else that you guys want to do? And they kind of got the bug, and then it turned out like they're fantastic at it as well. Both my sisters have been very successful in that world too, and it's such a cool thing to get to say and be like, yeah, my sisters do this too. And people always ask, do your parents act? I'm like, no, they do not. I don't know where it came from. I could not tell you, but all three of us do it.
I know your poor parents. They are probably exhausted.
I know my sweet mom. She now that me and my oldest sister, or my middle sister, we're both like over 16. It's a little bit easier to like work in terms of jobs, and obviously she doesn't come to work with me. But as soon as that happened, she was like, okay, I'm gonna open up a business. She's a little small business owner. She has a furniture store.
Good for her.
And so yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So you did Footloose was with your sister. Was Identity Thief as well?
Yes, Footloose and Identity Thief were with my middle sister, Maggie.
I mean, that's pretty amazing. I mean, that just doesn't happen.
No, I mean, it's a rarity in terms of like siblings together. And I feel like there's a few Hollywood siblings but having them do roles consistently together is not something that's very common. I think it's very funny because anytime that I would audition with my sister to play sisters, they would be like, do you guys fight a lot? And I'm like, do you fight with your brother? Like, yeah, a little bit, but I'm not going to fight on set. Like, I'm going to be, you guys are going to love us. And we got to meet so many cool people in both of those films. And
yeah, those were loaded films.
So incredible.
Yeah. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So you did Hannah Montana.
Yes.
You were young Miley, which is also awesome and a little hilarious too.
I think it's funny. I think on the pilot, there was one of the crew members who had said to me, of Naomi, and they were like, you look a lot like Miley Cyrus. And I was like, wow, that's so funny. I was like, yeah. And I'll just be like, oh yeah, I get that a lot. Or sometimes I'll be like, well, I played her on her show. But it's so funny whenever people say that to me, because I'm like, I still look like her. I'm still holding true. So when she was releasing some new music, I was like, if you need anyone for your music videos, if you need any,
that's what I think. If I was her, I would totally do that. I would have you in the video. I'd put you, like, if I was going to a concert, I would have you go out.
Perfect. Yes, I can just perform for her. She can take a little break, get some water.
Yes, take a little break. Yeah, I mean that's pretty amazing. I think you've had such neat experiences with the different shows that you have done. I mean, that's a pretty big one.
I remember being so nervous to go on set because I was such a big fan of Hannah Montana and the show. And I'm actually, before I booked the show, was up for a part in the Hannah Montana movie. No, what was it? The Last Song. The Last Song,
yeah.
Which is the movie that she did. And they ended up not having the role. And so I was like, oh, I'm not gonna get to meet Miley Cyrus. I want to meet Miley Cyrus. And then this part came up for the role to play young her. And I mean, I had heard my whole life growing up that I looked like her. I was like, I think I got a shot at this. And it was so great. And the cast was really great on that show and taught me a lot about multicams, which I ended up doing a multicam later on when I was older, which was really great to kind of have that little prep under my belt.
Was that Kevin Can Wait?
Yes, that was a multicam as well. So
we loved that show. We thought you were terrific on my wife, and I thought you were just terrific on that one.
Thank you.
Really, that was a fun show.
It was so much fun, and that was my experience of living in New York and being a New Yorker. I don't claim that before the New Yorkers get mad at me. I'm not a New Yorker. I was just there for a year, 2 years. But that was a really cool show to work on as well, and got to kind of get to see all these really great comedians come in, which helped me a lot further on. You
got to do a little, like the bratty kid once in a while. You had some moments there where you were causing some problems. This is pretty good.
That was my mean era where I was the bad kid.
Well, and that show lasted a little while because you were on it. We did. There was a lot of episodes.
We did 2 seasons, and each season I think was, I want to say 24 episodes.
Yeah, that's probably right.
It was a lot, which is very different compared to this show where we're doing like 13. And
nobody does 20 some anymore.
And it's honestly, at first I was like, oh, we should do more. And after seeing, especially with 1 hours, I'm like, 13 is perfect. We'd like to do 16 maybe next season if that happens.
I guess I'm on board if you want to do it. I'll allow it.
Yeah, but I really enjoy it. And yeah, we just finished Naomi in January, and it's so sad. I'm like, I wish we could have had a little bit more time.
Yeah, but if it comes back for a second season, and it will, it's so good, it's going to come back. I mean, you'll start filming in the summer, something like that for next season?
I think we kind of I judge our schedule based off whenever the Stargirl people get there because they film in the stages right next to us.
Yep.
And so I think we would start probably in August, or maybe the month before.
Okay. Yeah, we've had some of the Stargirl cast on, which is another fun one because it also takes place in a high school. So it's kind of a neat show. And I'm a Justice Society fan, so seeing those on screen, that was kind of neat.
Really cool.
Yeah, it was pretty good. So off camera, we are talking about binging shows. Are you binging anything right now? What have you been watching?
I posted this on my Instagram story and I was like, I hope people don't think that Ava's paying me for this. Like, she's not. But I had been waiting for DMZ to come out. I was like, I need it to come out. I need it to be out. And it came out, I think, on the 17th, like last.
Yeah, it was like last
Friday.
Week.
Yeah. It's 4 episodes, so like it's a very mini series, but I watched that within like a day and a half, watched every episode.
How was it?
It's gorgeous, and like I guess a fun little secret fact that people will maybe notice is that some of the sets that they used are the sets that we used.
Oh, really?
So we filmed like across the street from the DMZ stages. So there were a few times that we would go over there and kind of use their stuff. Or there's like a location that they shot at that we shot at. And I'm like, wait a second, I've been there before.
See, now that's cool. I love the graphic novel that it's based on. It's another comic book type of show, but so it's on my list. I will be watching that while my wife is out of town. That's on the list. I've been watching a show called From, which is from Epics, and it's it's kind of a monster show, but it's like Lost with more monsters.
Okay.
It's pretty good. So if you get a chance to watch that one, From, it's pretty good. And it's got like the main actor is from Lost, which
Okay.
it makes me wonder if there's some involvement with
If
Lost
there's somebody
writers
there
or something,
said,
because it
come
has a
over
very
here?
Lost. It's it's got a Lost vibe. People are getting trapped in this town, and it's very purgatory type of situation. And, it's pretty good. Pretty good.
All right, I'll check it
But
out.
DMZ is next. That's my next.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I thoroughly enjoyed it and was it was obviously I wanted to watch it because it was part of Array. There was a little bit of like, you're like, Ava did this and I want to watch this. But we had a lot of our crew that had worked on it right before. They worked on DMZ and then came over to Naomi. So it's like, there's people that I know that worked on this. And then I was seeing the trailers and I was like, wait, this looks really, really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It thoroughly was.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. I'm inspired now. I'm going to go back and I was going to wait, but now I got to dive into it.
You got to get it.
Yeah, I got to dive into it now. So I was thinking that this was just a year or two ago, but it's been a while now. But I loved you popping up on New Girl. Really good. Really good. But I was thinking, well, that was just like a year or two ago, but it was probably like 6 years ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago. I think it seems very recent, especially for me, in terms of when I was on the show, I wasn't watching New Girl because I think I was in middle school.
Yeah.
And so I was not watching New Girl. And now that I'm older, I've watched the season. I think I've watched the series twice all the way through. I love it, which makes me sad that I wasn't on it when I knew more about it, because I would have been like, I need a picture with everyone. And
I know.
God, so cool. But it was nice because I just went on and was like, this is fun. These people are nice.
My favorite episode is the one where they're just yelling all day at each other. Like they're doing push-ups and stuff. And they're like, I can do this all day. All day.
Uh-huh. That show is so cool. And it actually, New Girl was a few stages over from Ben and Kate, which was the show that my sister was on with Dakota Johnson and Nat Faxon. And so
another underrated show.
I mean, come on. And Zoe, I remember, I think 1 or 2 times would actually send a food truck over to like my sister's set, to the Ben and Kate set, and be like, congrats on like getting picked up. And like, that was very, very cool. Very sweet.
No, is it like friendly rivalry, or are you just very supportive with your sisters?
I'm very supportive in terms of like, we look similar enough that we play sisters, but we don't look, none of us are twins.
Right.
And we also just have very different takes on roles. I think it's funny. My mom will tape us sometimes for roles. And if we all 3 get the same audition, because it's a 15-year-old, if my sister Lillian is actually 15, my sister Maggie's 18, and I'm 20, and they're like, well, you all kind of could look 15 in terms of Hollywood. It's so funny because once we're done auditioning, my mom will be like, you all did such different takes of the same audition, like the same sides, the same character, but you all did it so differently, which kind of is nice knowing when you audition and there's 50 other people auditioning, you're like, well, we're all doing it differently. So it's not really anything to do with me. It's more just which one did they like the best.
Well, that's always the case. Yeah. There's usually a lot of people that do a really good job. It just comes down to what fits whatever they're looking for. Who they happen to like for a certain role. Do you practice, or do you prepare with your sisters, or do you do that stuff on your own? Do you read together?
They've helped me prep for Naomi scenes before for taping, but just more of like, I need someone to read these lines with me, because there's a lot of weird words that thankfully I don't have to say that many weird words. It's usually Naomi and Jacob who are saying the weird comic book sciencey words that I swear I'm like, these are made up. This is not a real word. And sure enough, it is. Yeah. But no, my sisters will help me with that. And it's just so cool getting to kind of do all of that together. And there's times, like I said, if we're both auditioning for characters but in different roles, in terms of like they're sisters, or if they're in the same show, I'll tape my other sister. I'll be like, I'll read opposite you. Why not?
Well, why not?
Yeah. I think my sister Maggie actually did one of my tapes for Naomi. She read with me. Yeah, she read Naomi's part, I think, for the like what's one of the second tapes that I sent in.
I think that's neat. Like
Yeah.
if I've just got one brother, but if we were both actors, I would absolutely read with him. I think that would be a neat experience. Something
It's
you could
fun.
look back on years from now and be like, that was really cool.
Yes. And of course she lets me know that she's the reason I got it. I mean, she read with me. It was just the beautifuln't that she gave.
How have you not done like a YouTube channel or a podcast with your sisters?
I've thought about it with all three of us. I'm afraid we would just talk for like 4 hours though. And people would be like, I don't know if I have enough time to sit there and listen for 4 hours.
Yeah. I can tell you that they don't.
Yeah.
It's hard though.
Like podcasts. And I've talked about Variety does this kind of Hollywood roundtable interview that they do. And I feel like they're usually like 30 to an hour.
Yeah.
And it's just like these amazing actors sitting and kind of talking about their roles. And I've always wanted to do kind of a version of that. So Variety, if you're ready. But with a lot of actors of different ages that were child actors, whether it's someone like Robert Pattinson, who's been working forever, but started when he was a kid, or it's someone like McKenna Grace, who is still a kid, but has been working since she was a kid, and just be like, hi, this is what it actually is. We all go to school. We actually are, most of us went to college.
I would watch that.
Yeah, that would be so
much
much
fun. I like the behind the scenes type of stuff, and that's kind of what that is, just getting a glimpse at the life. I think that's a good idea.
There we go.
That's a pretty good idea.
Write it down in my notes.
Yeah, write that down. We got a lot of stuff we got to cover. When we're done here, we got a lot of homework.
Exactly.
When we started this podcast, my son and I, he's about your age, maybe a little bit older, but we just wanted to talk about things that we were, interested in or loved, so a lot of geeky stuff. And we did that. We had episodes that would go on for hours. Nobody wanted to listen to that. We get comments be like, it's pretty good, but I drove to California from West Virginia and you guys were still talking.
Oh goodness.
We had to dial that.
Had to sort them down a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. We had to find, you got to figure that out, because it's hard, because it's fun and it's hard to police yourself to hold it, to make yourself kind of shut up.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think we're on to something though. We're gonna get you a podcast, because I do think everybody's doing it now.
I love going on the podcast. Every time that I'm asked, they're like, do you want to go on? I'm like, yes, of course. Please.
Yeah, I'm glad you did, at least this time. Now, I've actually seen you on a few podcasts, and you're always terrific. You're a very good guest, which is really nice. Most I think most entertainment people are used to that interaction. They do a pretty good job, but you actually seem like you're enjoying yourself.
I have fun. I like it. I'm like, oh, someone wants to talk just for an hour about like what I love talking about already. Yeah. It's
Not
basically
terrible.
My day to day. Although I will say, my parents will ask me, like, you talk so much about Naomi on these interviews, but you won't tell us anything. I'm like, I don't want to spoil it for you.
That's
I don't want to tell you what happens. Which is so funny, because I would be on set and I'd be taking pictures and my mom would be like, oh, send me what's going on today. I'd be like, nope, you're just gonna have to watch. I'm sorry.
Are they watching?
Spoilers. They are. They've been watching. My youngest sister has soccer on Tuesdays, and so she has to like catch up on the app, and I think she's an episode behind, but I think she's supposed to catch up.
Not bad. That's acceptable.
Yeah.
I think it's acceptable to be an episode behind. You don't want to get farther behind.
Don't want to get too far.
No. I mean, it's one a week. You should be able to handle that.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay, so tell me if this one's right. But I think that I've seen you on an episode of Hot in Cleveland.
Yes.
Is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
I was starting to doubt myself. I'm like, well, maybe that was her sister.
No.
Yeah.
I did that. Everything in my head is not years wise. It's like what grade of school I was in. So I think I was in 4th or 5th grade.
Yeah, you were young.
And it was first off really cool because I was in like a pink tracksuit, and they wanted me to look like a younger version of the one of the lead actresses, but kind of like a weird younger version in terms of if you took her now and made her younger. So they like rushed in big fake hair extensions for me and like put these big fake eyelashes on me and were like perfect. And
That was
I
probably
just
fun
remember,
at fourth or
it was
fifth
so much
grade.
fun.
Yeah.
And I just remember like getting to sit next to Betty White on the couch and like do this scene with her. And I mean, I was already like so nervous, and
Yeah.
she was just so kind and like spoke to me and all of the other girls on the show just very normally, very casually. And it was like, I'm working with you and you're speaking to me and asking me like if I'm excited to be here, and this is just the coolest thing ever. It was incredible.
That is pretty great. I mean, were you like, as you got older, did that become a bigger deal? Because I would think at a younger age, you wouldn't quite get, how big a deal it is to be working with Betty White.
Yeah, I think when I was younger, I was just like, this is Betty White, and I know that she's very well respected, but I was also in fourth and fifth grade. I wasn't like the biggest Betty White fan. And then as I got older, I just remember kind of people asking me about that project more than I thought that they would ask. And I was like, this is much bigger of a thing than I think I thought it was. And now obviously like I'm just so grateful
Yeah.
to get to say that I worked with her, but also get to say like she was incredible. She was kind, and just to be able to say like I hope that I can emulate some type of that way that she was treating the rest of her cast and the rest of her crew, because at the age that she was by the way so like spry, hip with it. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, you are incredible. It was just
Wouldn't you
so
want
good.
her as a grandparent? I mean, doesn't
Oh,
everybody need a grandparent like that?
I would love to have Betty White as my grandmother any day. I mean, I
Yeah,
love my
you do.
grandparents. I do love my grandparents if they watch this and they're
You're
like,
not
what did you
replacing
say?
them. You're just adding
I'm
another one.
adding another one.
That's right. That's right. I think they'd be okay with that.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. So the last one I wanted to bring up was Grey's Anatomy. That you were so good in that.
That was such a crazy project in terms of, again, another show that I didn't see. I wasn't watching Grey's Anatomy at that young, obviously, because I'm a child and that would probably
It's been
stall
on
me
your
seeing
entire
medical
life.
drama. Exactly. But I do remember going on to it, and my mom was actually the one, and a lot of these pictures turned out so bad because this was not the age of iPhones. It was probably a camera that my mom just brought. And I remember like getting a picture, and I didn't even know their names. I just knew this is McSteamy and this is McDreamy, and I need to ask for a picture with them while I'm here. But they were so kind, and I actually remember after that episode, we had one of the producers of the show reach out to us after the episode had aired, and was like, we wish we didn't kill you off. Like, we wish we could have kept your storyline going. It turned out so good. I was like,
It really did.
Host, but like, what can we do here? But that was, and it's such a cool thing to do because that was kind of my first taste into the world of doing more drama stuff.
Right.
And I always say like now I'd love to do more of that type of drama stuff just because I think it's so cool. Maybe not a medical drama because I've already done that, which is a fun fact that all three of my sisters and I have all done medical dramas.
That is a pretty good fact.
All three of us.
What was their show?
I was the only one who died. I died on Grey's Anatomy. But my sister Maggie did Code Black.
Oh.
And then my sister Lillian did The Resident, which is on Fox, I think.
Yeah, very nice.
So they both survived. So.
Was it difficult on your mother that you died on the show?
I remember she was telling me that when she was watching us film the scene, that she was getting a little emotional. And I think one of the producers leaned over and was like, just wait till we add music. And sure enough, when she watched it, like her and my dad were both crying. And it was one of those weird things because they were like, she's upstairs. Like, she's upstairs. She's in her bed. She's fine. But I'm watching her on this show die, and it's so painful.
I'd have a hard time with that as a parent, I think.
Yeah.
Because that's, that's terrible.
I think my younger sisters watched like just my part of the episode, and even mom was like, just so you know, like this isn't real. Like she's upstairs, she's fine.
Did they come check on you afterwards?
I feel like it was just kind of, we might have been watching it together, and it was just kind of one of those like, this is weird.
Yeah,
to watch you die. But I will say, dying on Grey's Anatomy was very simple. They were like, close your eyes and like just lay there. We'll make it look like you're dying. It was like, great. This is very easy. Perfect.
Pretty good. That's pretty good. Has it been difficult? You always hear of the difficulties transitioning from child actor to adult actor. Have you had any difficulties doing that? Because you've kind of kept working the whole time.
I think it just came down to, for me, like getting to work with good people and then like surrounding myself with good people. And with this show Naomi coming up at kind of like the perfect point of me, because I had played a kid on Kevin Can Wait, because a lot of the roles for kids are truly just like, you're the child of this adult has a kid and we need someone to play that. And when Naomi came up, it was like, yes, you're a child and you theoretically have parents, but this show is not about them. This show is about you and your friendships and you forming your opinions and you and your emotions. And when it came up, I was like, this is kind of exactly what I was looking for in terms of transitioning from the playing the kid of someone to
it's a good transition
and someone's my parents.
Yeah. So what's next? What kind of genre or role do you want to try next?
I would love to do like a drama period piece. I've always wanted to do a period piece. I just think that like those are so cool and beautiful, and I mean, I'm sure that they're a lot of work, but I think that would be really cool. And I also just watched it's Fresh, and it's like a super creepy like horror comedy. I don't want to say rom-com because there's not a lot of rom-com in it, but on HBO, and I was like, that would be cool to do like a creepy horror movie, but definitely more dramatic stuff, and just love all of that. Also movie musicals, everything really.
I think you could do a Western. That's kind of period piece too. I think you could do a Western.
That would be fun. Then I'm sort of like with a Pegasus, but it's a horse. So it's similar.
That's a horse. But like a Western where, you'd have to be a little bit of a gunslinger.
Oh, sure.
I don't want you in a bar or anything like that. I want you to be out there.
Yeah,
we just
watched, what was the Western? I think it's The Harder They Fall. That was on Netflix.
Oh, yeah. That was a good one.
That was really good.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one. That was really good. And I've been watching the Gilded Age on HBO, which is a very period type of piece. They got all the flowy dresses. And
yes. I think I had went and watched the Downton Abbey movie in the theaters.
Oh, yeah.
Which is not something that I would have gone and watched in the theaters, but I ended up having a ticket from somebody. Very weird. And I was like, sure, I'll go. And I was sitting there laughing. I was like, wait, this is kind of good. Like, I was crying. Good. It was good. It was beautiful. And I love, what's the show? The Great?
The Great. That's a terrific show.
Elle Fanning in it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, when you do one, you have to negotiate in the contract that you get the outfit. At least one of them. You gotta be able to keep one. That's right. And then you've got your Halloween costume every year.
That's what I was fancy thinking. Ball. My favorite type of period pieces, because The Great is what I just talked about. But my favorite type is, I love Emily Dickinson, and I think Haley Steinfeld's fantastic. And her show is so cool because it's like this period piece, but all the language in it is super modern, and all the music in it is super modern. And I now thinking, I'm like, I wonder how many of those dresses she got to keep. I wonder how many of those outfits that she took home.
I'm betting 0, which is wrong.
I know.
You should at least get 1. Well, Mary Charles, thank you so much. This has been the best. I knew you were going to be just a terrific interview. I've watched a few of yours, and you're always so much fun. And you're so good on the show And I'm not just saying that because I'm a comic book guy. It's really good. The show's really good. I'm excited to see where they take it.
We've got some pretty cool stuff coming up. I'll say that.
Yeah. We still got a little ways to go in this season.
Yeah. I think that I really enjoyed the last episode that came on, episode 7, which I talked about a little bit, which was just me and Alex, who plays Dee on the show, just kind of goofing around, and it turned out really great. But I think I want to say episode 10 is my next favorite one. Okay. There's a lot of cool stuff that happens in 10 that I think
got a little ways on that one.
Yeah, I know you'll have to wait, but it's coming.
Did you have to train at all for the role?
I didn't have any training for my character, and in turn, I was honestly a little bit nervous that I was going to get there and they were going to say, "Can you skateboard or can you do this?" Because Casey's obviously skateboards, but thankfully at the moment, Annabelle, I drive a car. I drove a car in the last episode.
That's pretty good.
I had to make sure that I knew how to drive a car, which was very funny because the car that Dee drives is this old Jeep, and it does not steer straight. To go straight, you have to hold the wheel like this. And they're like, "Can you drive this car?" And I'm like, "Well, if it was normal, sure, but let me try." And I that was probably the most amount of training that we've had. But I will say I'm excited to see hopefully what happens in the future. If we get another season, maybe then. Although I think I wouldn't think that your character, you'd want her to have too much training, because it should seem like whatever she's doing is not something she would normally do. Yeah, I think that was a cool thing with Casey too. Throughout the show, she kind of would get more and more lessons with our stunt coordinator and figure out more of her training. So at the beginning, it truly was she knew kind of what she was doing, but as we go on, I mean,
she learns.
It gets really impressive.
All right, I'm excited. It's rare when they come up with a new character out of the comic books, and even rarer that we get to see it this quickly on screen. So that's been awesome.
It's so cool, and I can't wait to see where the rest of the physical comic goes and where we hopefully get to take our show.
Yeah. Well, when it comes back for a second season, you got to come back on. Tell us more about it. Yeah, you have to. So, okay. So a couple of things before we wrap up. Anything else that you're working on that we can keep an eye out for?
Right now, it's just all about waiting for Naomi to hopefully get another season. And I'm excited about that.
If you weren't an actor, what would you be doing?
I would probably still be somewhere in the film world. I'd love writing. I write feature films and scripts for television shows that I've been working on. So I would love to do that. I'd love to direct. It would still be in the film world, somewhere, wherever they would let me in.
That's exciting. I think that's really cool, because those interests give you a little bit of insight to what's going on the other side of the camera, which I think would only help you as an actor.
It's cool to get to know about all the moving parts, because you can't make any of this happen without all of the moving parts. So when you know a little bit about, what is a director thinking right now? What is a writer thinking right now? What is the lighting thinking right now? Then you can kind of mentally adjust to help everybody else move everything along.
Yeah. Did it help you with your writing that you were an actor?
It gave me a little bit of a secret script bank, in terms of I had read so many scripts growing up, and read scripts that weren't out, or read scripts by ginormous and crazy writers, or read scripts that were not great. And I got to have all of this kind of backlog of information that I think a lot of the times you have to just get from Google searching hours and hours, or in the script writing and screenplay classes of just here, read the script and study it, versus I had already read so many scripts.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited. Maybe we'll get to see one of your shows.
That would be awesome.
I think it'll happen if I mean, you're talented enough. If you wanted to switch to a different aspect of entertainment, I think you could do that and then switch back.
Go all around.
Well, make sure you write in a Pegasus or a unicorn or something.
Oh, there'll be some Easter eggs. There has to be.
Okay. All right. Has to be. All right. So last thing before you go, where can we find you on social media?
My Twitter and my Instagram are both Real Mary Charles. I love tweeting about Naomi. I like to do just little fun tweets.
Yeah, you put out a lot of stuff on the show. It's really cool. I
love it. I like to up my Twitter game, and I've been crowned the queen of BTS.
Oh,
because
nice.
I take a lot of pictures on my phone, but I also am really into film photography. So I will take some film pictures of us on set because it's a good way that I know I can't take a picture and accidentally post it. Because if it's on film, then I can't see it until I develop it.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, then you're not giving anything away or screwing anything up. That's
exactly.
Smart.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, they need to just take away all the actors' phones on all of like the comic book shows and movies and just give them a film camera and say, look, if you need to take a picture, take it on this because we don't want you to accidentally put anything out.
I think that's a great idea because everybody wants to take pictures.
Oh, yes. So I have plenty of those.
All right. Very good. Yeah, and you're easy to find out there. I found you pretty easy. So that's pretty good. Well, thank you so much. And we have to do this again.
Yes, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Well, you're so welcome. Okay, hold on one second. All right, so that was Mary Charles Jones. What an unbelievably talented young woman and her family. It amazes me that there's 3 sisters and all of them are acting at a young age. Really, really impressive. If you haven't seen Mary Charles' work outside of Naomi, then go hunt some of that up. She is so good. She was really funny on Kevin Can Wait. The Grey's Anatomy stuff when she was younger was it was heartbreaking. It was a little hard to watch as a parent, but just so well acted. I enjoyed her on October Road, and then she's popped up. We talked about some of them. Her and her sister were good in Footloose and Identity Thief with Jason Bateman. Really, really talented actress. I'm so happy that I got to talk to her. And she was a little like she could talk a little of the comic book lingo. I was pretty impressed with that. She knew Amethyst. That was one of the bigger surprises I've had on the podcast. I'm really impressed that she knew who that was. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. Appreciate that you keep coming back to us week after week. We definitely do not take that for granted. If you haven't done so yet, we could really use the help on our YouTube channel, MeisterCon Pod. If you could subscribe, that would just be the best. You can find, we just posted today our 353rd episode, and you can find all of those, audio and video, on our website, meistercon.com. If we're doing anything in studio, if we're going to a convention and covering it, if we're going on location, all that will be on the website. There's a geeky, fun blog that Brett writes. I think he is just the best writer. So you can check that out on the website, meistercon.com. So thank you guys so much. Until next time. Bye, everybody.